back to LFFL Primetime. All you need to know in just 5 minutes. Gonna get you caught up on what happened last week. Look ahead to next week and get it all in a nice, tidy time frame. So let's get started in the original league where we had five actually really close games this week. Josh beat Matt by 17 points. Bill beat Miles by just 5 points. Todd, a thrilling 1 point win over Eric that went down to the final minutes of Monday Night Football. Greg with the week's blowout over Andy by 22 points. And finally, I was able to beat my good friend Phil by just 4 points. Looking at your standings, Miles, Josh is clocking in at 7-2, Todd 9, 6-3, Greg at 5-4, and we have a gap down here. Andy, Eric, Bill, Phil, all tied at 3-6 for that final playoff spot with Matt just a game back of them at 2-7. Obviously, with this separation, top four looking real good for the playoffs. Greg looking in solid playoff position. And then you've got a cluster for this last spot. So looking ahead to week 10, obviously some big games here for some people making a playoff push. Josh taking on Todd. Josh won the week 1 game. However, Todd does hold the career 16-10 lead in the series. We have Miles taking on Phil. Miles won the week 5 game between these two teams. However, Phil does lead the series 3-2. Andy taking on Eric. Andy absolutely hammered Eric, put up a 200 burger on him in week 1. And Andy also did win Super Bowl 13, the second closest Super Bowl on record over Eric in 2007, winning by just 3 points. However, Eric does hold the 20-16 lead in the series. Matt taking on Bill. Bill holds a 15-11 lead in the series. However, it would be more if we don't count the playoff games. And then finally, Greg taking on myself. This is a rematch of Super Bowl 12, 15, and 23. Greg won 2 of those 3 games. However, I did win in week 5, and I do hold the 17-13 lead in the series. LFFL 2, no close games in this one, 5 blowouts over here. Andy, Greg, Sean, Merrill's, Todd, your winners. Those are basically 5 of the top 6 teams in the standings. So a little separation this week here. Andy 7-2, Greg, Sean 6-3, Eric and the Merrills 5-4, Todd, Bill 4-5. I'm 3-6 with Phil, and Miles at 2-7. Looking ahead to this week, Andy taking on Eric, Sean taking on the Merrills, Todd and Bill, Phil and Miles, Greg and myself. LFFL 3, Miles loses for the first time. Eric 100-98, a 2-point loss. Miles has 98 points, is actually the third best score of the week, only 6 points shy of the high scoring team. Tough way to take a first loss, however, does drop the game. Greg, Matt, Brennan, Andy, Todd, and Phil are your other winners, with Phil posting the high score of the week to get back at me for I win in the original league. Look at your standings. Miles at 8-1, Phil at 7-2, Andy at 6-3, Todd, Eric, Matt, Brandon, Bill, all at 5-4, tied for the final playoff positions. Matt Merrill at 4-5, Sean and myself at 3-6, Greg 2-7, Nate 1-8. Not looking good for the playoffs for Sean, myself, Greg, and Nate. Week 10 we got Miles taking out Matt, Brennan, Phil taking on Bill, Eric against Matt, Merrill, Todd versus Greg, Nate versus Sean, Andy versus myself. Alpha 4, congratulations, Mr. Berardi. Second one of the season, 9th of his career. And Miles ends up coming in second here. Hasn't won yet, but has come in second 3 times in the last 6 weeks this season. So even though he hasn't had a win this year, it looks like it might be coming. Greg still sits atop the leaderboard over here. And your other champs, I was able to take Thursday night. Greg was able to take Monday night. Looking at the LFFL 5 Week 9 scores, Bill, a big one over Eric to move back into first place by himself. Phil, a winner. Sean, a winner. Miles, a winner. Greg, a winner. Bill, as I say, 8-1 on top. Eric sitting at 7-2, Greg and myself 6-3, Phil at 5-4, Todd at 4-5, Miles at 3-6, Andy, Sean, and Nate 2-7. We are in the flex games for the next 3 weeks. Your matchups this week: Greg versus Eric, Phil versus Todd, Sean versus Andy, Miles versus Nate, and Bill versus myself. Remember, the flex games are games where you're seat against people around you in terms of record. Over here, Phil in the LFL is on a strong move this week. Was already in first place last week, took it down from 5.3 average down to a 4.4 average. Well done, Phil. Moved into lead in 2 months. Phil, as I say, a solid lead over Greg right now, who has a solid lead over Josh and Bill in third place. LFFL 7, current elimination is Andy. This is too bad for him. He basically was dominating this league, but this is what happens in this league, right? One bad week, a few teams on bye, a few players don't play well, and boom, you're out. So we're down to 6 teams over here. Josh is now your career-leading survivor. He has successfully avoided elimination in 31 of the 33 weeks he has played. Congratulations, Josh. That is awesome. LFFL 8, Phil continues his lead over here with second highest scoring this week, and he's opened a pretty solid lead. I'm second, Andy is third. And then over in the LFFL 9, your Elite 8 games, Phil is looking like he's going to beat me. Eric is looking like he's going to beat Andy. Todd and Matt in a close one. Nate and Jeremy in a close one. Some of you haven't made changes. You can still make changes if you want to for that push if you have not yet. And then finally, your LFFL Player of the Year standings, Josh has moved into first place with Greg and Phil in second. Good luck to everyone this week.